We've all been sold a lie, that life is a straight road, where discipline means following a perfect plan. But real life, it's a battlefield. It's messy, unpredictable, and it knocks you down when you least expect it. And yet we beat ourselves up when we can't stick to the script. What if discipline isn't about rigid control, but about learning to fight smarter in the chaos? Some days, it feels like the universe is testing you failed plans, unexpected setbacks, motivation that vanishes like smoke. You're not failing because you're weak. You're struggling because you're human. But here's the truth. The greatest warriors weren't born unbreakable. They were forged in the fires of adversity, learning to adapt, persist, and fight even when the path disappeared beneath them. Discipline isn't a punishment. It's your armor. It's not about never falling. It's about developing the reflexes to get back up faster. The Spartans didn't win because they feared battle. They trained for it. Your life's battles are no different. The discipline you build today isn't for easy days. It's for the wars you can't yet see. So if you're tired of feeling like life keeps ambushing you, if you're ready to stop waiting for perfect conditions to take action, then this is your moment. Because the difference between those who break and those who bend without breaking isn't talent or luck. It's strategy. And today we arm you with it. From childhood, we're fed fairy tales about success stories where the hero follows a clear path, faces one big challenge, and emerges victorious in a linear, predictable arc. Disney movies, inspirational biopics, and social media highlight reels all reinforce the same dangerous illusion that meaningful progress should be smooth, effortless, and free of detours. This cultural myth sets us up for frustration because real growth doesn't look like a tidy upward curve. It looks like a heartbeat monitor in an emergency room, jagged and unpredictable, with moments of collapse just before the next surge forward. The danger isn't just in expecting a straight path, it's in mistaking struggle for failure when things inevitably go off script. When we internalize the idea that discipline means never stumbling, we start seeing setbacks as moral failures rather than necessary terrain. But life isn't a guided tour with signposts and rest stops. It's an active war zone. Tourists stroll through experiences expecting comfort and spectacle, snapping photos and moving on when things get difficult. Soldiers, though, they train for chaos. They expect ambushes. They know victory isn't about avoiding the fight, but about adapting mid-battle. The difference between those who thrive in uncertainty and those who crumble isn't talent or luck, it's mindset. The tourist complains when the weather ruins their itinerary. The soldier uses the storm as cover to advance. Right now, you're either training like a civilian hoping for calm seas or a warrior preparing for rough waters, and the universe doesn't care which you chose. It will throw the same storms at both. This isn't pessimism, it's liberation. Once you stop waiting for perfect conditions, you reclaim your power. Every obstacle becomes intelligence gathering, data on where you need thicker armor or sharper strategy. The entrepreneur who fails forward through 3 bankruptcies isn't less disciplined than the one who got lucky on their first try. They've just logged more hours in the lab of real life. The writer who produces garbage drafts for years isn't falling behind the prodigy. They're building calluses no algorithm can replicate. Discipline isn't the absence of mess, it's the ability to keep creating order within it. So drop the fantasy of the perfect path. The magic wasn't in Cinderella's glass slipper fitting. Effortlessly, it was in her showing up singed and ragged to claim what was hers despite the chaos. Your breakthroughs won't come from avoiding the grind. They'll come from learning to love the taste of dust between your teeth. The straight path is a mirage. The war is real. And the only question that matters is this. When the fog rolls in and the plan falls apart, will you be the one sitting down to mourn the map or the one already moving, weapon in hand, toward the next ridge? When chaos strikes, as it always does, the most powerful weapon isn't some grand gesture of willpower, but the quiet practice of focusing only on what you can actually influence. The ancient Stoics knew this well. They divided the world into spheres of control, concern, and outright chaos, teaching that peace comes from pouring your energy solely into the first category. Modern psychology echoes this with the 2-minute rule. If you can't change something in the next 120 seconds, it doesn't deserve your mental real estate. Obsessing over traffic jams, other people's opinions, or yesterday's mistakes is like trying to bail out the ocean with a thimble. The disciplined mind, however, asks one ruthless question. What's the smallest, most immediate action I can take right now? Maybe you can't fix your financial crisis today, but you can draft one email, do 5 push-ups, or delete the apps draining your focus. These micro actions aren't trivial. They're footholds in the landslide. Proof that you're still in the fight. This is where the concept of minimum effective action becomes your lifeline. On days when even breathing feels like a burden, the bar for success drops to simply showing up. Writers call it butt in chair. No word count quotas, just physical presence at the desk. Athletes call it active recovery, moving at 20% intensity to keep the habit alive. The magic isn't in the output, it's in maintaining the ritual when your brain screams for surrender. Because discipline isn't about peak performance, it's about preventing collapse. A single sentence written during grief, a 5-minute walk through depression, a cold glass of water instead of self-medication. These are the unsung victories that rebuild broken momentum. They're the equivalent of keeping your sword sharp even in peacetime. So when battle comes, your muscle memory overrides your fear. But let's be honest, willpower is a fair weather friend. That's why the Stoics engineered systems to outsmart their future weak selves. Ulysses' contracts, binding commitments made in moments of clarity, are the ultimate anti-excuse armor. Tie your hands to the mast, schedule workouts with a trainer who charges no-show fees, send your draft to an editor before you can second-guess it, or publicly pledge a deadline to weaponize shame against laziness. Habit stacking, another mercilessly practical tactic, change new behaviors to existing ones. Floss after brushing, meditate after coffee, review goals after opening your laptop. The goal isn't to eliminate resistance, it's to make surrender more painful than action. Because when the storm hits, you won't rise to the occasion, you'll fall to the level of your systems. These aren't life hacks, they're survival protocols. The chaotic days will come, and when they do, your Stoic toolkit won't just keep you afloat, it will remind you that even in free fall, you can steer. Control isn't about calm seas, it's about knowing how to adjust your sails mid-hurricane. So plant your feet, narrow your focus to the next actionable inch, and let the rest rage on without you. The war isn't won by those who wait for clarity, it's won by those who act in the fog. Motivation is a fickle ally. It arrives in bursts, electric and intoxicating, convincing you that this time you'll sustain the fire forever. But like any wildfire, it burns out, leaving behind the ashes of abandoned plans and half-finished dreams. The truth, motivation is overrated. What separates those who endure from those who evaporate isn't passion, it's the unglamorous machinery of systems. The 1% rule is the antidote to the boom and bust cycle. Commit to microscopic, almost laughably small habits that are too trivial to skip but compound into monumental change over time. Read 1 page a day. Write 50 words. Do 2 push-ups. These actions seem insignificant in isolation, but their power lies in their inevitability. They're so small that resistance can't find a foothold to oppose them. Over weeks and months, these tiny repetitions forge neural pathways stronger than any fleeting surge of inspiration. The goal isn't to move mountains today, it's to become the kind of person who carries a single stone every day without fail. This philosophy dovetails into the no-zero days mindset, a brutal yet compassionate pact with yourself. No matter how deep the pit, you never let a day pass without at least one deliberate act of progress. On heroic days, that might mean 1,000 words or an hour of intense training. On broken days, it might mean scribbling a single idea on a napkin or walking around the block. The magnitude doesn't matter, the momentum does. 0 days breed more 0 days, but a single spark, however faint, keeps the ember alive. It's not about excellence, it's about eliminating the possibility of total collapse. Because discipline isn't a switch you flip, it's a flame you guard against the wind, even if some days all you can do is cup your hands around it and whisper. The Navy SEAL's 40% rule is the empirical backbone of this mindset. When your body or mind screams that you're done, research suggests you've only tapped into 40% of your capacity. The remaining 60% is locked behind a door labeled suffering, and the key is simply the decision to endure. SEALs don't survive Hell Week because they're superhuman. They survive because they're trained to treat their limits as illusions. This isn't just physical, it applies to creative work, entrepreneurial grit, and personal endurance. When you're certain you can't write another line, run another mile, or endure another rejection, you're standing at the threshold of that 60%. The breakthrough isn't on the other side of talent, it's on the other side of surrender. Systems leverage this truth by automating persistence, habit chains, accountability partners, pre-commitments, so that when your will falters, the machinery of discipline carries you forward. The lesson is clear. Motivation is a guest, but systems are the architecture of your life. You don't need to feel like a warrior to act like one. You just need to design a world where the next right thing is the easiest thing to do, even when everything in you wants to quit. Because the days you least want to show up are the days that define you, not with grand gestures, but with a quiet, stubborn refusal to let the flame die. The greatest shift in any battle, whether on the battlefield or in your own mind, happens the moment you stop seeing obstacles as punishments and start recognizing them as training. The warrior asks, why is this happening to me? The warrior asks, what is this preparing me for? This subtle reframe changes everything. That difficult client isn't ruining your day. They're teaching you patience and negotiation. That failed project isn't proof of your inadequacy. It's a crash course in resilience. The rejection, the setback, the unexpected crisis, these aren't detours from your path. They are the path. Ancient samurai didn't curse the sword coming at them. They saw it as an opportunity to practice their parry. Your challenges are no different. Every time life swings at you, it's not trying to knock you out. It's giving you another rep in the gym of grit. The warrior sees a wall and stops. The warrior sees the same wall and starts calculating handholds. This is where the Stoic practice of negative visualization becomes your secret weapon. Most people avoid thinking about worst-case scenarios. They're terrified that dwelling on failure will make it inevitable. But warriors do the opposite. They stare into the abyss until the abyss blinks first. What if you lost your job? What if your project flopped? What if the person you trusted most betrayed you? By mentally rehearsing these scenarios, you accomplish two things. First, you realize you'd survive, and that realization alone drains fear of its power. Second, you begin preemptively crafting solutions. So if disaster strikes, you're not paralyzed, you're prepared. Roman generals would appoint a devil's advocate to poke holes in every plan, not to spread doubt, but to harden their strategy. Your anxieties are that devil's advocate, not enemies to silence, but advisors to interrogate. Once you face the worst in your mind, the actual battlefield feels less like a threat and more like a proving ground. Which brings us to the battle cry that has rallied underdogs and overcomers for centuries. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? This isn't just a motivational slogan. It's a psychological trigger that snaps you out of victimhood and into ownership. The warrior waits for permission, for perfect conditions, for someone else to lead the charge. The warrior knows that waiting is surrender in disguise. History's defining moments weren't seized by the most qualified. They were seized by the most willing. That project no one else wants, that problem everyone's ignoring, that change you've been putting off, those aren't burdens. They're your calling. The warrior's mindset doesn't ask for lighter burdens, it builds stronger shoulders. So the next time you're tempted to hesitate, let that question roar louder than your doubt. If you don't step up now, who will? And if not now, when will you finally decide you're ready? The war isn't won by those who have the most resources, but by those who refuse to let their circumstances dictate their fight. The difference between a warrior and a warrior isn't the absence of fear, it's the presence of purpose. One sees obstacles as stop signs, the other sees them as signposts pointing toward the version of themselves they're being called to become. So when life tests you, and it will, remember, the question isn't whether you'll face storms, but whether you'll learn to sail in them. The warrior builds shelters. The warrior builds ships. Which will you choose to be? The choice is yours. You don't get to choose your battles, but you do get to choose your readiness. Discipline isn't about having an easy life. It's about being strong enough to handle a hard one. Every time you show up, even when it hurts, you're not just surviving the war, you're becoming the kind of person who wins wars, the legacy of the unbroken. History doesn't remember the people who quit at the first setback. It remembers those who kept going when logic said it was impossible. Your struggles aren't proof that you're failing, they're proof that you're fighting. And fighters, they don't need perfect conditions. They just need one reason to keep swinging. So the next time life ambushes you, and it will, I don't want you to ask, why is this happening? I want you to ask, what is this preparing me for? Because the path isn't straight. The road isn't smooth. But warriors, they don't need roads. They make their own. Now, what's your next move?